Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome once again to the Newsman Weekly Podcast. Thanks also once again to local country music singer Luke Watson for crafting this show's primary theme song, Smoke and Drink. Here we are, folks. Let's start with a quiz. What does the Newsman Weekly have in common with Joe Montana, Bob Lanier, Dwight Gooden, and Frank Gifford? All those guys are before your time, so I'll just tell you it's the number 16. This is the 16th episode of the Newsman Weekly Podcast. An adventure that began in the middle of summer has now stretched into autumn, and who could see that coming? Certainly not me. Folks, I got to tell you, I am elated to be here, and I'll show you how dedicated I am to this show. I'm on vacation today. So you're really not seeing me, you're really not hearing me, because I am on vacation.
Another vacation where you're working.
Well, I don't do well with staycations.
I don't know if you know what the word vacation means.
If I go out of town, I'm on vacation. If I'm home, it's a staycation.
Yeah.
There's stuff that goes on. But anyway, I'm joined again this morning by Zach Heiser, this show's executive producer. Good morning, Zach. How was your weekend? And welcome to another week.
Yeah, welcome to another week. It was good. I think these October weekends are always great. I would say October might be my favorite month of the year with the weather and football. We got some playoff baseball here in Ohio, in Cleveland.
It's nice to hear a Browns fan mention football.
We don't have to talk about it.
Okay.
We don't have to talk about
it. Good, yeah.
Never mind about football. But yeah, Richland Source had a show down in the basement. It wasn't our show, but the Henrys booked it for Natalie Everett benefit show, and so I went down there Saturday night. It was good.
Nice.
It was nice to attend one of those here and not be in charge.
Nice crowd. This was a benefit for the young woman who was injured in the bicycle accident.
Correct. Yeah, good crowd. At least 100, 150 people. So
are there like some silent auction items?
There were.
Things like that?
Yep, there was some silent auction items and $10 donations. So I think it was cool definitely to see the community rally around her and support her over these last few weeks.
Very nice. Also rejoining us today, believe it or not, is Knox Pages reporter Grant Ritchie, to whom we actually entrust with creating the video portion of our show. Good morning, Richie, and congratulations once again for surviving another week on this planet that we call Earth. What did you do for fun this weekend down in God's country, a.k.a. Knox County?
Yesterday we had a food truck festival.
What?
A food truck festival.
Oh, food truck.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. See, this is audio, Richie. You have to enunciate. If you simply go, blah, 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 I don't understand.
We'll have to replay
is.
the clip,
Okay,
then I'll try to make improvements for next week if I'm still on the show.
Yeah, we'll see. If you keep talking like that, your odds are you won't be. But please continue. You had a food truck festival.
Yeah, a food truck festival in Mount Vernon. I think it was the fifth one run by Knox Foodies. So they had Mediterranean food there, sorbet,
Wait, did you just say sorbet? The second food that came out of your mouth is sorbet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you like sorbet?
I don't even know what sorbet is, but it doesn't sound like traditional food truck fare. Where are the fries? Where's the cotton candy? Where's the brats? Where's the meat? Sorbet.
They did have the brats food truck. What's it called? It's from Columbus. It's like a German village. Zach, help me up here.
Schmitz.
Yeah, Schmitz. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in prepared.
Did they have raccoon?
No, they did not. It wasn't in Danville.
Well, I have to simply ask, and I shouldn't because I don't know if I'm going to like the answer, but the food truck festival in Mount Vernon, where the second food you mentioned was sorbet, what, pray tell, did you eat?
Did I eat sorbet there?
What I know, I said, what did you eat?
Oh,
it could be sorbet
okay.
or it could be anything. I'm just asking.
There
what
was
did you eat?
there was a hibachi food truck, and I got some fried rice with some chicken and broccoli. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Broccoli, chicken, and fried rice.
Yeah.
Okay. Heiser, make a note of this.
This is
please.
riveting, but we got to keep it moving.
Yeah,
here.
okay. Well, I had perhaps the dullest weekend of anybody here. I covered a pretty fun football game Friday night between West Holmes and Lex, but that was kind of the highlight of the weekend.
Did Lex win again?
Yes.
All right, we're
Lexington won 19-13.
Excellent.
Scored the winning touchdown with 55 seconds left. Actually, the only video I shot of that entire game was that play.
Good work.
So there you had it. I was able to slap it up into the story. And I was standing, I actually went up to the press box the second half and was standing next to Mark Cottle of the News Journal, my friend, and he didn't have a seat for me, but I stood over top, watching over his shoulder. And when they getting ready to run that last play, I kind of put my elbow in his ear, and I said, "Move over a second, would you?" And held my iPhone up and recorded that video. The rest of the weekend was spent with a script in my hand. I'm going to play Death Trap, which opens, good Lord, October 18th at the Mansfield Playhouse. I really have far too many lines, and we're supposed to be off book starting tonight, so that will be a nightmare of biblical proportions when that begins. So you can get tickets right now at mansfieldplayhouse.com, and if nothing else, you can come and see an old man, a.k.a. me, struggle trying to remember 5,000 lines. So, all right, if you guys don't have anything else from the weekend, we'll talk about some news of the week. Sadly, a 20-year-old Richland County Highway Department worker was killed last Wednesday when he was struck by a vehicle during a road maintenance effort on Bowman Street Road, I believe is up in Franklin Township. According to the Mansfield Post, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, Trenton Galloway of Lucas was outside of a Highway Department vehicle when he was struck by a vehicle that was trying to pass on the left at about 2:24 p.m. Patrol said the Highway Department was completing road maintenance along Bowman Street Road between Myers Road and Amoy West Road. Sadly, Galloway was pronounced dead at the scene. He joined the Highway Department in June of 23 as a seasonal employee right after graduating from Lucas High School. Became a full-time employee in March, driving a truck, working to repair and maintain county roads. And the folks I talked to said he really loved what he was doing. Adam Gove's office. Adam Gove is the county engineer. He's been a guest on our podcast before. And the Richland County Board of Commissioners issued a joint statement Thursday afternoon saying that flags at county buildings were going to fly at half-staff for 3 days beginning Friday in Galloway's honor. Funeral services for this young man will be Wednesday, October 9th from 11 to 1 at the Lucas Grace Bible Church. A delay in the arrival of concrete box sections, Heiser, you want to hear this, has delayed completions of a tunnel.
I'm listening.
Beneath Trimble Road. Well, I saw you staring off into space.
No, I wasn't. It was just a sad story that you started out with. So
it's unfortunately news sometimes is sad, and we will deal with it as it comes. But City Engineer Bob Bianchi says Trimble Road is going to remain closed until October 17th. Which is 2 weeks past the original scheduled date. It's been closed since August 19th, just south of the Akron Children's Mansfield Health Center. This $1.2 million tunnel project beneath a very busy road will allow bicyclists, pedestrians, runners, joggers to safely cross beneath the busy street when an accompanying B&O trail connector project is complete in 2025. I love telling Bob right now it's a tunnel to nowhere because that bike trail connector is not yet complete.
Right. When's the connect? I thought so. The connector is not going to be complete when the tunnel's done.
No. In fact, the work on the connector trail itself isn't even going to start till probably February.
Gotcha.
It is going to be, and poor Bob, 2025 is going to be a very, very busy month. Very busy
transition year.
Yeah. Main Street starts probably in February. The connector trail is going to be going on. A water main projects will begin going on using the water main improvement project money that voters approved earlier this year. No, Belleville thing, that's a county thing.
Okay.
But in the city, Bob's going to be very busy.
All good stuff. That's all good signs that things are improving, right?
Well, I mean, when Jody Perry ran for mayor, one of the things she talked about was infrastructure. So infrastructure improvements are kind of a big thing. The reason this thing got delayed is the concrete box selections were supposed to be delivered at the end of August, and they didn't come in until September 11th, so it kind of delayed everything. The delay in getting it reopened is going to cost Adena Corporation about $8,400. There was a disincentive clause in the contract that said it's going to take $600 per day out for each day the road is closed beyond 45 days. Bob said, look, Adena has worked very hard to get this project complete, but it's part of the contract, $600 a day disincentive if you go beyond 45 days. Excuse me. Speaking of Mayor Jody Perry, she offered City Council a couple of meetings to consider her plans on how to spend almost $2.3 million in American Rescue Plan Act dollars, most of it related to improvements in and around city parks. But at the meeting I went to last Tuesday with the clock ticking on the end-of-year ARPA deadlines, they decided not to wait, and lawmakers kind of improved all the ideas. So things like $135,000 for sandstone pillar restorations at the entrance to South Park, $375,000 for various park improvement projects, like, for example, recreation, security, lighting, and maintenance. One of the things they're going to do is there's some roofs at North Lake Park that need to be replaced. $200,000 for a new pedestrian bridge at Middle Park that will connect that park with Park Avenue West and will again, for the first time in years, link Middle Park to North Lake and South Park. So you actually could walk or bicycle maybe, because it's not going to be a driving bridge, but it'll be a pedestrian bridge, all the way from North Lake Park on one side all the way to South Park on the other. $750,000 for the design of a waterline looping and sanitary system at the industrial park near Mansfield-Lahm Regional Airport. Please note this is not for the construction. This is just the design. This is kind of a big project. So that will hopefully allow for future expansion at the industrial park, manufacturing jobs, distribution facilities. That's where the future for growth is, and that's what this project's going to assist.
Interesting.
$575,000 for sidewalks and other improvements at King Street Park and Johns Park. King Street Park is one that I don't know if a lot of people know about. It's something that hasn't seen a lot of improvements over the years, so this will be a big deal for the folks who live around King Street to be able to do that park. And also $160,000 for 4 tornado sirens in the city of Mansfield, which, Mr. Ritchie, the city of Mansfield has never had a tornado siren. Did you know that?
So where do they get their sirens from then?
Well, we don't have any.
No, but I mean in the surrounding. Okay, so like, how do they know that a tornado's happening?
Well, Richland County has tornado sirens, warning sirens around the county. But as I said a few minutes ago, when you were busy steering off into space and wondering why your fantasy football team is going so badly, Mansfield doesn't have any.
I know, but I'm asking, how do the citizens know that a tornado is coming in? Do they just have to look at the weather or something?
No, I walk outside of Idea Works and I stand on 4th Street and I scream, "The tornadoes are coming! The tornadoes are coming!" Yeah.
I think that system works perfectly fine.
It really does, yeah. No, but I just love giving Richie a hard time. Richland County's had, 40 or so tornado sirens around the county. Just the city's never had them, and I assume people didn't have to get text messages from the city or the county or their weather apps or their weather radio, or they go on Richland's source.
So that $2.3 million then is for what you just said. That's allocated now.
It has been appropriated.
Appropriated.
All contracts have to be signed by the end of December, and there's another $600,000 that still hasn't been appropriated. The way ARPA works, all money must be appropriated by the end of 2024, and all of the work complete by the end of 2026. So
2026.
Time is of the essence when it comes to ARPA.
Yeah. We'll keep you posted on that too, right, Carl?
Oh, that's what we're here for. But the last story we'll touch on today, our friend Deanna West Torrance is officially kind of stepping down as the CEO of the North End Community Improvement Collaborative. The NECIC Board of Directors last week announced Tony Chinney. Am I pronouncing that right? I think I am.
I don't know.
Okay. Tony, if I got it wrong, I apologize. He will become the interim CEO. He's been with NECIC since 2007. He's a Mansfield native, graduated from Mansfield Senior High School, got a bachelor's degree in European history from the Ohio State University in 2007. And Tony has been the primary author of the North End's Community Economic Development Plans, which have kind of been the key documents that have guided NECIC's work in the community. So congratulations to Tony.
Keeping that in-house, too.
Keeping it in-house.
Seems like a great decision.
He's been there. I think he was the first person to come aboard once Deanna got the thing launched. But much love to Deanna West Torrance, who moved back in March out with her family, her children, grandchildren out in California and San Diego. She's still going to be involved, but they needed, I guess, somebody to be a full-time in-house CEO, and Tony's going to fill that role. So
San Diego's weather is almost as nice as the weather we have here in Mansfield.
Yeah, right.
The more I see hurricanes and wildfires and things like that, Ohio's sounding better.
I like where
and
we
better.
are. I like
So,
where we are.
If you're down in Florida right now, hunker down.
Yeah, or
because
get the hell out of there.
Yeah, because Hurricane Milton's coming, and it's coming out of a funky direction. It's coming west to east.
Right.
Or east to west.
No, west to east.
West. I had it right the first time. Okay. Yeah, that's looking scary for the folks in Florida the next 2 or 3 days. All right, guys, that's enough news for now. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we will be joined by Vic Amesquita, the owner of Blood Prison at the former Ohio State Reformatory. Please stay with us. And welcome back. Joining us now, as promised, is the local king of fright, Vic Amesquita, owner of Blood Prison at the former Ohio State Reformatory. And yes, I just did my best AM radio DJ voice. So the annual Halloween season month-long Fright Fest is a fundraiser for the Ohio State Reformatory Preservation Society. And good morning, Vic.
How's it going?
Going very well. How are you on a fine early morning?
Good.
After a good long weekend of scaring the crap out of people. But,
it's good fun, I tell you.
All right, full disclosure, Vic and I go back a long way, back to the days of classic rock and Z98, back when we had that little studio over in Ontario.
Yeah, it was fun.
And then the making of the movie The Rage with Bob Kurtzman. That was a fun trip. Was that back in 2007? I think is
2006.
2006.
Yeah,
I'm getting older. But let's go back even further, Vic. I want you to tell me about what has to be your obviously twisted childhood, and what made you want to get into the business of scaring the hell out of people in the first place.
Well, I mean, growing up, we'd go to haunted houses and we'd go trick-or-treating, and we would do the traditional, October hits and horror movies. That's kind of where it came from, but mostly it just kind of happened. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I didn't, have aspirations to run a haunted house. That wasn't, that's not what I grew up thinking I'm going to do one day.
Yeah, back in the first grade when you said, I want to be a haunted house owner. That wasn't
yeah.
Where'd you grow up at, by the way?
I grew up in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, which is about 40 miles west of here.
So you were a chieftain.
No, I'm Upper Sandusky Rams.
Ram. Why did I think chieftain? No, that's terrible. I'm
Chieftains, I think those are that's Hopewell Loudon, if I remember.
Loudon, yeah. We used to call them in Fostoria hopeless lousy.
Yeah. So Fostoria, okay, yeah.
So Upper Sandusky, you graduated from high school there. Where did your career take you after that? What kinds of things were you into?
Well, after high school, I kind of worked for like a couple years. And then what I always wanted to do was what you talked about a little bit ago, was I wanted to be in radio, because I was never a musician. You know what I mean? I could never play music, even though I fiddled around on a guitar and I owned a couple guitars or whatever, but I never got really good at it. But I wanted to play music, so I was like, well, I'll get into radio, because that would be kind of a cool way to play music and not without playing it.
Not having to actually do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of way I built my entire career, is not, doing it without having to do it,
Yeah. Well, once I got in there, I realized that the music, it wasn't really about that, which was kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah.
But I still had a ton of amazing experiences, because I worked, in like Cleveland, at the Buzzard. So that was kind of cool as a young man working there. And
did you ever get to meet Kid Leo?
No.
Okay, because he was like the original FM DJ at WMMS.
Yeah.
He was like the hero of Bruce Springsteen. And
yeah.
when you hear Kid Leo's voice, man, he looked like this little Italian guy, which is what I think he was. But when you heard that voice come across the radio, man, he was 10 feet tall and waving a sword. But
it was good.
But you're now in your 9th, I think, Halloween haunt at the former Ohio State Reformatory, and it's your 8th as the leader of the place. What's been the biggest changes you've seen in your own haunt over the last 8 or 9 years?
Well, just making it. My goal going in was to make it something it never was. You know what I mean? I had been to the attraction previously. So going in, it was like, let's do something that, they haven't been doing here. Mm-hmm. That was the goal going in, even when I was still with, the old company. And I think that's been the biggest thing is basically in the back is like making the big cell blocks into, as best as you can say a movie set, so that's kind of what we've done, where before they were kind of empty, you know what I mean? So that was the biggest thing, was doing that. And that's probably the biggest change you would see if you'd been there, 10, 12 years ago.
Now, the first time you went through there just as a guest, I mean, I remember going through there, and it was kind of disappointing. I remember going through and thinking, this place is the perfect place for a haunt, and this is one of the most imperfect haunts I've come across. So what were your thoughts when you went through the first time before, just as a visitor?
Well, we love that stuff so much. We love haunted houses so much that, like, when I say we, I mean me and my crew that helped me out. You really got to be bad to disappoint.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's really got to be horrible before we're, like, this is garbage. You know what I mean? But so that being said, when the first time I went through, like, years ago, would I say I was disappointed? No, I didn't say I was disappointed. I just knew, I'm like, the same thing. It's like, man, this could be so cool. So much more could go here. But again, that's when I was a guest and I didn't quite understand what goes into that.
Right.
But I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I would just say I just saw potential. I'm like, man, this has got potential.
I think one of the first haunted houses I saw, the whole movie set thing, was when Kurtzman came back to town, and we did that one the first year over in Crestline.
Yeah.
And I think we had the scene from The Exorcist.
Yep.
And what was the Chainsaw Massacre and Psycho. And I remember thinking at the time, as working in there, this is really, really cool. And I think you guys have taken that little building and kind of like blown the whole thing up on a massive, massive scale. How hard is it? You guys don't have an unlimited amount of time, because obviously OSR is a big tourist attraction year-round. How much time do you guys get to actually get all of that stuff set up and ready to go by the end of September?
3.5 weeks. Wow. That's the actual build time that we have. Now we're planning it all year. It's, we've got it to the point where, like, I've got a small full-time staff. But when we implement everything, it's like when it's time to go, we get 3.5. Yeah, it's about 3.5 weeks, and that's we need every bit of that time.
Yeah. How many folks do you have once you actually start the build? How many folks do you have working on the construction of the haunt itself?
Oh, on that end, well, let's see, probably like 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, because we hire a company to come in and help us, because we have to have these containers where we store everything that's in the cell blocks.
Right.
So we load those containers up. So we have a company come in to help us unload that. It's a moving company. They come in, they help us unload it. We tell them where to put everything, and then we start building. So that takes about 2 days just to unload, and then we start building. So, I would say it's probably like 15 guys, and they're not there the whole time.
Right.
Like we have, we have a crew also come in to help build, like some people that we know. They come in and help us for about a week. And they're actually they kind of help out incarceration. It's part of, not Inc.'s crew, but one of the crews they hire out to help them build.
Okay.
So we hire them as well for like a week, and then it gets us well underway where we could handle the rest of it. But yeah, it's an operation, man, let me tell you.
Now, when you and I spoke before this season started, I think you told me that it's not enough anymore just to create dark mazes and toss down wooden pallets and straw bales to run a modern Halloween haunt. So what does it take?
Well, you kind of gotta keep up with, you gotta kind of keep up with the trend, I guess, if you want to say. Every year there's, like, right now, pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns seem to be kind of trending. So there's, you kind of want to have areas of that. So you kind of got to keep up with the trends and what's hot in the industry. Plus, everything is so much bigger and animated now that you've really got to have that. And as important as actors are, because they are the driving force of probably any haunted attraction, you've got to have that balance of like an animatronic or a good scene. Lighting's got to be perfect. Audio's got to be perfect. I mean, it's almost like a stage production or a movie production or however you want to do it, a film production, because that's what people kind of expect anymore. They don't expect that. They don't expect a haunted house from 1992, where you're talking, you had some people in masks and maybe a little bit of special effects, but they want to see something at the highest level, especially when you're at a place like where we're at. You know what I mean?
I know that the music is a big part out there. The times that I've worked out there for you in the past during haunts, it's a very driving kind of beat, very hard. What kind of music? What do you look for from the music when you're thinking about your haunt every year?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you're at, but I mean, for the most part, like if you're outside, we're not going to play Taylor Swift. You know what I mean?
Yay! Sorry, Mariah Thomas. No Taylor Swift outside blood.
Swift.
Yeah.
Well,
not really.
No, you don't want to do that because that's not going to keep you. That's not going to put you in a Halloween state of mind. So we're going to play like heavy metal music, that kind of edgy, kind of ramp you up kind of stuff. Which. That's what you want outside. Inside, we make a lot of our own music. Like I have a guy that kind of does a lot of the audio production that, he'll throw a soundtrack in that's kind of original. And then we pull from, other places. Midnight Syndicate up in Cleveland. They're a Halloween music company. Video games. Video games are huge. The audio in some video games is just amazing for like an apocalyptic scene that you're using. And I'm like, oh, it's an apocalyptic video game, so let's try and pull something like that. So it comes from everywhere, really.
And it seems like no matter where you go in the prison during the haunt, you're hearing music. So how much, I mean, is it still wiring? Is there so much wireless speakers now? How do you create that? How difficult is it to kind of get that sound throughout the entire building? Is that's a big building?
It is, yeah, and it is difficult. Being wireless in that building is just something that is usually not a good thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We do it in areas where we can, you know what I mean? But in the first part of the attraction, we have that whole area wired, and we run it on something called QLab. So that runs every room in the haunted attraction from a computer, and that makes it easy. The same in the basement. We have a computer down there. Every room is wired with speaker wire and the audio and speakers that we have in there. Now the cell blocks are different because we have to tear that down every year. So that is technically wired, but we just have giant, massive, just these giant amped, powered amp speakers, and then we can either Bluetooth them together, which we can do, but we usually don't. But we wire those, through XLR, just down the tiers of these cell blocks where nobody goes. And you need that big sound in there because it's huge.
Yeah, it's like 6, 7 really stories high.
Yeah.
Now, one of your most iconic actors, kind of taken off in the last few years, the Warden's widow. Now, I don't know whether people might not know this when they see her. They might think she's on stilts or something. But this woman is a legit 6'7", I believe, actress. She's become like the belle of the ball. At Blood Prison. Where did she come from, and how do you use her during the evening haunts?
Well, she came to me. I mean, it's nothing, we didn't seek her out or anything. She just applied like a normal actor. She was working at a haunted house over in Findlay, Ohio, and she just kind of wanted a change of pace, and she's like, I really wanted to kind of go to a bigger, more haunted attraction. So she reached out to us, and I remember seeing her name, and I couldn't quite make out her last name. I thought, that's a weird last name. And but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. So when I scheduled the interview with her, she texted me and said, hey, I'm here. And I was like, okay. And I went up front to meet her, and I remember seeing this really tall, younger girl, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that girl's tall. And that's where it went because I'm just, oblivious. And I never thought like, oh yeah, that's the one that's coming to see me, because there was like, 10 other people in the room. So I'm kind of looking around, and she goes, Vic? She said, Vic? And I was like, yeah. She was like, hi, I was like, oh, okay. welcome. You know, I was just like rolling out the red carpet because when you see someone that's 6'7", or even someone that's, 4'7", you kind of want that in this business because they're different. They're they're just not a normal height person like me or you. Yeah. So it adds an
as far
an
as
intrigue.
5'6" can be normal. I mean,
Right. That's normal for a woman, I guess. But no, you see that and you think we could do something really cool. She could be, she's going to stick out, obviously. So that was in 2018, and we just kind of started her out normal, just like any other actor, in the cell blocks. She was in the East cell blocks where we had our church scene. She played kind of a church-going school marm type, and she had ideas. She's incredibly. She loves this as much as anybody. I mean, it's her thing. And she was like from day one constantly just trying to evolve her character and wanting to do more. And I think she saw that we were open to it. And then when she came with this idea that she had, we were like, yeah, that sounds great.
So the warden's widow was kind of her idea?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of became the warden's widow. She was first the warden's wife.
Okay.
Yep. Because we had in 2018 we kind of had a whole crew. We had like the warden's wife, and then we had the warden's daughter, and I think even had a son for a short amount of time. But in this business, things are ever changing, especially actors. So they don't, most of the time your turnaround's like, half, if not more. It hasn't been that way recently, but so it changed up, and the guy that was the warden, we ended up parting ways, and so we were like, well, let's kill him off and just make her the warden's widow, and that's kind of where it stuck. And we didn't really go any further with it because it's like, then if we have a warden's daughter and she quits, then we got to replace her, and there's all this, and so she's the constant, and she has 2 guards now that have been pretty constant that kind of are her, follow her around, yeah. But yeah, and then there was a video of her screaming. I think it was one of the Haunter guys out in New York, and she did this scream in the cell, I think at the one convention that they had out there one time, and it went viral, 1 million views, and it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, she has a unique scream. I mean, if
yeah.
you think ear piercing, but she did. We've never used her name in any of the stories that I've written, and you guys wouldn't use her name, but she is like a social media star. I was just looking at her Instagram account, and for those looking, just look up Warden's Widow. I know she's got about 90,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah. I haven't looked on TikTok, but I assume
she's got over 1 million on TikTok.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, and I know when you guys use her, she'll like be almost like a queen on a chessboard. She'll pretty much go wherever. I've seen her out in the parking lots. I've seen her inside the building. So you never really know where you're going to encounter this 6'7" woman who's also a makeup artist. I think
she is a phenomenal makeup artist.
So once she gets her makeup on, and that probably takes a couple of hours, I would think, at least an hour maybe to get all that stuff on.
Her whole costume and getup takes about maybe a little less than an hour. Her makeup, she doesn't do her makeup. My head makeup artist does hers, and he created that makeup. Through her visions, you know what I mean? And through his, it was kind of a team effort. But yeah, it's about an hour for her to get completely, because her costume is very elaborate. It's a big dress, and then her wig, and they got the big headpiece and all the different things that go on her arms and everything. So yeah, it takes her a minute to get in there.
But she's the consummate team player. When she gets her makeup on, she actually does make up on other actors who are working out there.
Yes, yeah, she does, and she's great. I mean, she's come a long way with that. She's, again, just so into this, and she wanted to start doing makeup. We do makeup classes and stuff like that. She jumped in, and she's just a natural.
Now, on an average night, I don't know if people realize this, I think this year you've got more than 120 actors who are actively trying to scare people. Now, from my own nights out there working with you, I know before the haunt opens, as people are getting ready, that can be a very hectic situation. So how do you keep track of that many people? Is it like herding cats? And who helps you with that aspect of the night? Because 120 people is 120 people trying to get them in the right places, in the right costumes, with the right makeup. And they all want to, do their own thing. They all want to get the big scare. So how do you manage all of that?
Well, you got to put together a good team, and we've done that, I think. Yeah, 120. Well, right now, actually, we're probably at a little over 100 because you always, there's always those ones that are just like, oh man, this is kind of hard, so we're out. You know what I mean?
You just described my history. No.
Yeah. This was harder than I thought. I don't want to do this anymore. So it does in the first weekend. You always lose some. So we're down. We're still over 100, but I've got a phenomenal team under me that does amazing with that. So it's like, for instance, my cast manager Jen, she is basically my GM. She handles most of it. It's just easier to do that way. And then under her, she's got each area of the haunt because it's so big. So like the house has a zone leader, and then solitary has a zone leader. East, west, cell block, basement all have zone leaders. So she coordinates with them. They coordinate with the actors in their zones, and so on and so on. And then I've got a security team, a staff,
right.
that like my head of security coordinates with all the security guys, and so on and so forth. And then I got my friend, I don't know if you remember Mike Weaver.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like kind of like my staff coordinator. He goes around and makes sure like my stoplights and stuff like that are all taken care of and everything. And so it's like it's a big family, man. It's just a big tree of people that, we all work really well together, and it makes it fun.
So when people are going through and they're being scared, and it's very chaotic and it's maddening, and there's lights and there's sound and there's smoke, and people probably don't have any idea this is all being coordinated. I mean, there's a method to this madness, and hopefully nothing is going on inside the building that you didn't plan and know about.
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, I know you guys now, when you sell tickets, everything is online. Usually, probably a vast majority of the time, bought in advance. It's hard to just show up and expect to get in. And you have time tickets. I mean, when you buy your ticket in advance, it'll say like 8 o'clock or 8:10 or whatever the time frame is. Because I remember back in the day, it was a Saturday night. I was working there. And I understand completely why you guys went to this process, because I took my first break of the night. It was about midnight, and I walked outside and I looked, and there was a line of cars on 545 north and south, as far as the eye could see from where I was. The gates are supposed to close at midnight or whatever, I think it was. And I'm thinking, this is nuts. And we didn't get out of there until like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And that's got to be hard on the actors. So how has the change kind of improved life for the actors and your crew and everybody associated with it?
Oh, it's night and day different now with the time ticketing. So we don't, like, even last Saturday, we were pretty busy. We got out. The last person was in at midnight, maybe a little before. We actually probably had like 5 minutes to spare. You know what I mean? It just makes things easier doing it that way, because in the old days, everybody just showed up at once.
And they might stand in line for 4 hours.
Yeah,
and that's frustrating for them before they even get in.
Yeah, and it that was always the biggest knock on, even back, before me.
Right.
The line waiting was atrocious, and it's, but that's just how it was back then. You know what I mean? It's like if you really honestly complained about having a long wait when you go to a haunted house, especially when you go in mid-October, those are the ones I hate the most. You know what I mean? Is those complainers that go to a haunted house in mid-October and complain about, well, I got to wait 2 or 3 hours. It's like, well, because you and everybody in the state decided to go to haunted houses instead of, so that's kind of the idea is, with the time ticketing and selling online is to try and spread it out as much as you can, right. And even out the season, which, I mean, it does to an extent, but for the most part, people still want to come on those Saturdays. But it's made life on the actors and the crew just way easier, because, I mean, you always get tired, but, by mid-October before, people are exhausted because we've been there, 2 o'clock one night, 3:30 the next, right. Because it's just, and then by Sunday you're ready to just be done. I mean, so it's made it better for sure.
And it's a being an actor in there, it's a physical job.
Yeah.
I mean, you're moving, you're physically. I remember I was working in the dark maze one night.
Yeah.
And all I had to do, I just had this scary mask that you guys gave me and this little flashlight, and as people walked up to me in the dark, because in that maze you literally couldn't see your hand in
Yeah.
front of your face. But once you're in there all night, you could sense people coming. And I waited, and there was this guy and a young woman, and they were walking up, and I popped the light on, and it's the mask lit up, and she screamed and ducked, and the guy behind her just throws a massive elbow,
Yeah.
catches me on the side of the chin. I go down in a heap, and I'm laying there, and they're stepping over me, and I'm like, dude, it's a haunted house. If you didn't want to be scared, what are you doing in here?
Yeah.
But as an actor, you get up, you rub some dirt on it, and you go back to screaming. This is a physical job these people have in there.
It is. Yeah. And that's the part that kind of sucks about it, because that can happen. And if you haven't been doing it, if that hasn't happened to you,
Right.
you know what I mean? And we try to, curb it as much as we can, because like I'm outside, if I see a group that's just
Acting out.
it's just like, all right. So we kind of try as best we can from the beginning. I'll radio ahead and be like, yeah, there's a guy in a I don't know, whatever, Pittsburgh Steelers hat or a Cleveland hat or what the hell ever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
this guy's being a dick.
Naturally, Steeler
yeah.
fans would be the ones that act out.
Oh, yeah,
without
they
a
are.
doubt, yeah, because they're just outrageous.
Especially the ones straight from Pittsburgh.
Exactly. And they're drinking Iron City Light in the parking lot. No, they're not drinking in the parking lot. It's
always
do that,
them.
People. Yeah, it's them.
It's always those Michigan guys that always. No, I'm just joking. But for or a red. This guy in a red hoodie, and he's kind of being a jackass or whatever,
Yeah.
So we radio ahead and just tell him, hey, watch this guy, and they do. And a lot of the times, that's kind of what happens is we watch them. They get in about maybe 1-2 rooms, and we're just like, you're out of here.
Yeah. I was always amazed at I loved the people that would come through who understood the purpose, who wanted to be scared, who wanted to laugh, who wanted to have fun. People like the guy in the red hoodie that you just described, or the real tough guy where you can't scare me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, dude, no, I'm not. Obviously, I can't. You're, you are what you are. But by all means, just keep going and ruin the night for everybody else. I mean, that's.
You get a lot of that.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that, and it's unfortunate because you can't please everybody.
Right.
And when those people come in and just are hell-bent on not having fun because they're trying to prove something to themselves or somebody else, I don't know. That's probably what makes it the hardest job, because I'm by nature a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want people to have a good time and I want people to be happy, but it's like now this far in, I know it's like you can't please everybody, and you're not always going to get 5-star reviews.
Right.
And, even now I saw somebody complaining about having to wait. It's like, I can't stop you from waiting. People don't understand the time ticketing stuff about like, well, I got there at 9, but I didn't get in at 9. No, that's not your get in time. That's your arrival time.
Right.
You should be there to, so you can't explain that to everybody, so they don't get it. And, they just get in there and they just want to complain and, say, well, I didn't like it. Well, I'm sorry you didn't like it, man. Better luck next time.
Yeah.
That's really all you can tell them. But for the most part, though, people have fun with it. And that's the good thing is if you're not scared, as long as you're having fun, if you like what you see or if something made you laugh or, something along those lines, it makes it worth it, even if you don't get 20 jump scares out of a person.
Do you still have offer like one of my favorite things was touch passes? People who physically wanted to be, who don't mind, not that they wanted to be, but they didn't mind if an actor grabbed them on the shoulder or touched their hand. I mean, do you still do those things?
Yeah, we still have the touch passes. That is if I took those away, I think there might be problems. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people totally dig the touch pass, and it's obviously, bikini area, we don't touch that,
right, exactly.
But everywhere else is kind of fair game, and people really enjoy that.
No, I know that in terms of haunts, you're somebody that goes around the state to see what other people are doing, and Ohio has become I think I saw some stat that maybe Ohio has more haunted houses or haunted places than maybe most any other country, at least, or any other state, at least per capita. How much fun do you have going around to seeing what other people are doing? Oh,
that's a big part of it. We go all over the country, not just Ohio. I mean, we go to conventions every year, and that's the main thing for us when we go to a convention is what haunts are going to be open for it, because we want to go see what they're doing, see if there's something wow that will inspire you, But even around the state of Ohio, I mean, it's not only is there more here, but there's some of the best. I mean, you know, some of the haunts here are just spectacular. You know, aside from us, you know, I mean, I could name, you know, Nightmare Cleveland, Fear Columbus, you know, those two right there, Dent Schoolhouse. They're all like top level, well known haunted attractions, and they're amazing. They're must see haunted attractions. Not only for the state, but they're just like us. They get people from all over to come and check it out.
Now, I know people associate Blood Prison with Halloween, but I mean, you guys do so much more than that. I think you have, or at least in past years, maybe you will again, a Christmas kind of haunt. Yep. You guys have something set up during Ink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about how haunting has become not only a year-round behind the scenes, but much more often during the year as opposed to just the Halloween season.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how Halloween has really infiltrated all the other holidays. So we do a Christmas experience in December. It's 2 days, and now we don't do the cell blocks because again at the Reformatory they get back into tour. You know, they're open for tours all year, so we got to tear the cells down, the cell blocks, but we leave up the house, the solitary confinement area, and the basement. And then in the bullpen area, we kind of set that up as a little mini light show experience in itself. So it's like those attractions kind of spin it a different way. Mm-hmm. And we get a lot of the Halloween crowd that comes for Christmas, but you just get a whole new crowd. And then like you said, we're open for Ink as well, which is extremely fun event to do. But a lot of other haunts do St. Patrick's Day. I think the Akron Schoolhouse does St. Patrick's Day. Factory of Terror, they do a Valentine's Day attraction. Fear Columbus does these laser tag events where they basically make their haunted attraction into a laser tag event that you can go down. I think it's called Nightmare Combat or something like that.
Nice.
And it is a lot of fun because it's always in like April or May, and then they may do a summer one. I think Nightmare Cleveland does the same thing. They started doing because they're kind of new, but they're taking off, and we're all kind of friends. We all hang out and chat and everything. But yeah, there's like so much more. Or Halfway to Halloween is another one that people will do in May. We're going to open up a weekend halfway to Halloween. You know what I mean? And it's just like, we thought about doing that one too, but because we got to set up and build everything, and it takes us that time. So we just do the Christmas and the incarceration event, which of course you got to have tickets to Ink to see that. But Halloween has really just, like I said, infiltrated other holidays, and of course that we love that.
Yeah.
If we have a chance to Halloween Christmas and just mess with all the Christmas lovers out there, we revel in that situation. Let me tell you.
All right, now it's time for a weekly segment called On the Record. You can't do a newsman show without going on the record. And
okay.
I'm going to ask you some rapid fire, short
boy.
answer questions.
Oof.
Now, you only get 5 seconds to give me an answer to each one. Now, if you go over 5 seconds, you're going to hear, and that's my official sound effect buzzer.
Okay.
But they're all your own opinion, so there's no wrong answer unless you take too long. So
I like where this is going.
I got like 6 questions.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the scariest movie of all time?
The Exorcist.
What's the worst horror movie of all time?
Worst? Oh, God, I don't know.
You still have to answer,
sorry,
though.
dude.
No, you still have to answer.
Worst horror movie of all
Yes,
time? I'm
worst horror
sorry.
movie.
Oh, God, there's so many bad ones. How do you do that?
All right.
All right, I'll just throw one out.
All
How
right.
about, oh, God, I can't even think of like one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Worst. Let me try and come back to that.
I'll save that. We'll come back.
Yeah.
What actor made you wet your pants with fright when you were a child?
Well,
my
for
God.
the record,
Yes.
I've never wet my pants,
Okay,
but
fine,
from
sure,
that reason.
Yeah. Well,
The most scared was honestly because my uncle would make us watch these movies as kids. Probably Michael Myers, just because it was more the psychological thing. So Michael Myers.
Yep. If you were not running Blood Prison, what would you be doing for a living?
I would probably be working in some sort of media situation or something like that.
All right. What is your favorite part of the Blood Prison haunt?
Oh, that's not fair. Come on, Carl.
Well, you can say the whole thing.
There are many scenes that I consider my favorite. My favorite part is probably, I mean, if you're talking scene-wise, we just put in a new lab/containment area that's just awesome. It's so amazing.
Okay. And finally, is the Ohio State Reformatory really haunted?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go back. What's the worst horror movie of all time?
Damn. Worst horror movie.
Or maybe the best worst one.
Yeah.
The best worst. That's a tough one, man, because it's like.
This is like asking a quarterback.
What about like any of like the slasher movies, like Friday? You know?
Okay, I mean, if you want to go, okay, that actually helps. Okay,
Right,
so
right.
worst horror movie is probably like, Friday the 13th Part 11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
kinda.
where it's or Nightmare on Elm Street 8.
Yeah.
Where
Let
they
it go,
they turned into this, because like if you watch the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's psychological. It's, oh my God, centipedes coming out of the girls. I mean, it's that kind of mess with your mind type of situation where then they just turned into, this campy, which
Schlocky.
Army of Darkness can only do that. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And they were like, let's go that way. You know what I mean? And it's like, you weren't that way though. Come on, man. So I would say those kind of movies that kind of just, I was never a big fan of those really.
I completely agree with you on The Exorcist, but the scene which caught me most as a young person was at the end of the original movie Halloween,
Yeah.
when Michael Myers
Yeah.
been blown, shot backward
Out of the house.
out of the house.
Yeah.
And the detective goes over and looks down, and he's not there.
Right.
I'm like, oh, and then you hear that music, those 4 bars on the piano.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
I left the theater going, I really don't like any of this anymore. I think I'd like to go home now.
Yeah.
All right, Vic, where can people find out more about Blood Prison? Tell us about what you've got coming up the rest of this month.
So, we're on all the social medias. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We're even on Snapchat now, which was kind of a thing. Which I'm like, I don't do that. So
Yeah.
I'm an old man.
Yeah, I
so
don't
I'm
do
like,
Snapbook or Instaface.
no, I don't.
You know,
Yeah,
I
I don't do that. So I'm like, what's the point of being on that? But we are apparently, and so we're on there, and then we're on our. We got a website, bloodprison.com, where you can buy all the tickets. And you mentioned something earlier about buying online. You have to buy them online, but if you show up and you don't have a ticket, we do have like QR codes that you can scan. I'll take you straight to the ticketing site. And if there's time, slots in that time slot available, you can technically buy them on site. But yeah, bloodprison.com, and we're on all the social medias. That's where you can find. We got a lot of stuff coming up this week or this month with some outside entertainment. We've got a sideshow crew coming in, I believe next weekend, and then we have 3 different DJs coming in from the Columbus area, and they're doing this giant, like we're doing like projection mapping on the actual side of the building.
Okay.
And they're going to have all these big screens on the one big porch and just playing crazy music and everything. It's going to be a good time.
So it's every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night.
Yes.
If someone does want to, maybe if they wanted to just show up and try to go through it, Sunday night would be a better time to just show up.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to just show up and get in using the QR code.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
Sunday's always
so-
better anyways because it's just a slower day.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a better experience on Sundays,
Well, Vic, thank you very much for taking time out of your busiest month of the year to be our guest this week. And
No problem.
best of luck the rest of October. Go scare the hell out of people, would you?
We will do our best, man.
All right, and I'll be back in just a second to put a bow on this week's podcast. Until then, please remember what Mark Twain said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.